John, are you all set? John Dawson? Okay. Hi, everybody. How are we all doing? Okay, great. I hope you learned something today. We're about to start our closing remarks, but I thought we could do the raffle. So let's do that first to just add a little fun to our day, even though all of it's been fun, right? So I'm going to pull, we have five, yes. Oh, yeah. Any last minute? No? Okay. Last call, yeah. I'm just going to mix them up. We have 5 prizes, 5 different things. 2 of the things are not physically present. They will be sent to you. So if you do get one of them, we'll just need to find out what address you want that sent to, okay? And we'll write that down and get that sent over to Kurzweil. We have raffle prizes from Kurzweil and Text Help, so thanks to them. I'm not sure if they're still here. So the first prize is from Kurzweil, and it's a Bluetooth speaker. I honestly did not write down anything she told me about it, so I have no information for you. It is a Bluetooth speaker, so that will be coming to you. So whoever I choose, Hannah, if you don't mind getting their formal address and phone number. Okay, so the winner of the Bluetooth speaker is Margaret Mannion. Oh, great. Okay. And that's from Kurzweil, so we'll get your information to send that your way. Also from Kurzweil is a 3-month trial for your school of Kurzweil's web tool, which is Kurzweil 3000 plus Firefly. So if you are a school that does not have that in our system, I'm not sure if everyone has it or not. Hopefully someone without it wins it, or you're generous and want to give it to someone who doesn't have it. Niels. So Niels, our university has this. Can I pick someone else? You're from Amherst. We have this. Okay, thank you. I feel like we should give you something different. How does this work? Man, what? A high five. Niels, you're amazing. Sorry. I don't know what universities have it as a site-wide license, but I just want to make it, you know. Okay, Clara Reynolds. Oh my God. Do you guys have Kurzweil? Do we have that? Okay, no, all right, that's for you. So Clara, can you just write down your info for me? Lowell, welcome to Kurzweil. Okay, so the last 3 are from Text Help. So let's see. Sam DeLory, and you get your name tag back. I know you wanted that. So we have Google Cardboard from Text Help. I don't know what kind of phone you have, if you have a bigger phone or a smaller phone. But you get one of those. So you can choose per your phone, I guess, and then the other person will just have to figure it out. Yeah. Thank you, Text Help. All right. Next one. John Rochford. John Roch. Did we get it? John Rochford. Thank you. Google Cardboard for you, sir. Are you sure? Fluency Tutor? It's a Text Help program. Thank you. It's something from Text Help. Is Text Help still here? All right, let's do that. All right, thank you. All right, last one. Google Cardboard. This person does not qualify, but they put their thing in here. Tisk, tisk. It's all good. Okay, Rebecca Hall. Google Cardboard. All right, thank you guys so much. That was our raffle for today. Come back next year. Right. Oh, yeah, great. Oh, thank you so much. It is now. Okay. Oops, let's get this trash can out of the way. Okay. So you're all attending closing remarks right now. Thank you.
And Hannah's getting ready.
Yes.
All right. Can you guys hear me? So up here we have Christina England from the President's Office. We have Kelsey Hall from Amherst. We have Matthew McCubbin from Boston. And we have Clara Reynolds from Lowell. And they will be discussing the accessibility standards that they will be hopefully rolling out. And so we have some questions already, but then we're going to open it up to you guys so that you can ask them questions about anything regarding these standards. So the first one is, what are the standards?
Yeah, so for people that aren't aware, we've been working on standards for about, I'd say, 5 months. And it's been a group across the campuses to come up with standards around video accessibility, online system accessibility, classroom accessibility, all of those different components to kind of give you guys guidance as we start to roll out accessibility programs at the campuses. That being said, one of the things we're talking about, and we'll get into more, is how to roll out those accessibility standards. So we're at the point where they're at final review, but we want to make sure everyone's prepared when they do get approved.
How many people here have heard of the accessibility standards that are currently being developed in our system? Just a general, all right, so maybe about a little less than half the room. Okay.
So one thing I'm going to share with you guys is everyone has access to an accessibility forum. I will send it out after the conference, and on that forum, the drafted standards are there. They're about, I think, about 5 posts down, maybe a little bit longer now, because we're pretty busy with the posts. Let me just find them. So it's called version 2 of drafted accessibility standards. And we're looking for feedback as we go, because we want to make these as successful as possible. So they're out there. It's both the instruction, communication, and technology accessibility standards document, and also resources as well to help with the success of programs. The other thing I wanted to mention in here was that this is actually going to be a website, because they're about 60, well, they're a little less than 60 pages, but it would be so hard to digest if we handed everyone a Word document. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make it into a searchable website for folks to reference.
And really that would be a website that people would go to across our systems with different reasons. So there's a focus point for faculty versus staff, or in different areas. So you might be searching for one particular thing, like instructional strategies and more information about that. Or you might be searching for more of the standards, looking at, well, what are the standards for email communication? So you might be going to the site for different reasons and as a different person at the university. So it's geared towards that.
You might also be looking for specific contacts on your campus. Yeah. So you could use the website to say, hey, I'm at Lowell, or I'm at Amherst, and where would I go to find someone to help me test this piece of software for accessibility? Or where would I go for just more information on my campus? The website is going to be the resource to find all that information.
And the website will be compliant?
Yes.
Of course.
So Hannah, I think we can move on to the next question.
So the next question is, what are the benefits of the standards for your campus, or what was the development process for the standards?
Okay. First one is actually the one. So I'm going to let Matt, Kelsey, and Clara answer this part. I'm going to stay quiet. So.
Which part would you like?
About what's the benefits of it for your campus?
The benefits, certainly standardizing on accessibility is beneficial for all the campuses. I think we all have a finite amount of time, especially a lot of us, accessibility might not be a part of the job description. So having a clear guide of standards for accessibility is going to make all of our lives easier. But also it's going to give every campus kind of a framework. The standards are very thorough, but they certainly don't cover every situation, right? So the standards are certainly a good area to start.
And it is a starting point, and something that we're really working on at UMass Amherst is making this information available to our faculty and our staff in a way where I'm not going to say something different than my colleague Josh, or something different than what Christina might say. We're all giving the same message. And that's really important, just to ensure that people aren't getting competing information and we're not further confusing our staff and our faculty. And also, it's just nice to have a place to house everything. And it will be built up over time. It is, like Matt just said, it's not completely comprehensive. Of course, it's challenging enough as it is to be the length of the document it currently is, but again, it will be a website. So I think for our campus, it's a really great way to communicate with our faculty. We get a lot of questions about, well, what's the standard for this? What's the policy for this? What's the law for this? What's blah, blah, blah. So it's really nice, and we've been working with Donna. Is Donna here? Thank you, Donna, for all of your hard work on this. Oh, well, thank you. And that's been incredibly helpful in the multiple iterations of this to really be able to communicate that in a meaningful way to our staff and our faculty.
I think one of the important things that have happened in this process is that we have engaged many people from the community. So we have engaged people from procurement, people from disabilities services, from HR. So everybody's on the same page. I think that is key for us to have shared expectations, as well as a shared group of guides that will help us work towards the goals that we have for accessibility. One of the other things that I think is very beneficial for the 5 campuses and the president's office is we're all on the same page. We're talking the same language. We're using the same language. The guidelines not only have what the expectations are, but also is giving us some pointers of what are the steps that we can take in order to get there. So I think that's one of the benefits, the great benefits that I see of this process. We were all involved. We all feel that we own a piece of it. And I think that is key in order for us to bring the message forward. Also, like you mentioned, it's very key that we do get questions about where, what are my responsibilities under the ADA for captioning, for PDFs. So now we have a place that we can actually point people to, that they can see what are the expectations.
It's a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And then next, when will the standards be rolled out?
Which is a very good question. So the nice thing is when we started the campus review process, a lot of the campuses reached out to us about, hey, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to roll out all of these standards? Which is a great question to ask, because we wanted that question. We wanted to put them out there and kind of get people starting to ask that question before we even kind of proposed a concept. So in talking to a few people, I've thought about the fact that we could do a pilot rollout, give people time to identify who has roles and responsibilities in each area. For example, with captioning, is captioning happening? Is transcript processes happening? Who does that? Where's the budget for that? So all those questions need to be answered. So we don't want to just roll them out, approve them, publish them to a public-facing website, and now you're held accountable. We want to give you guys time to look at the standards and really identify your overall rollout plan.
And I mean, I will say it till I'm blue in the face. But Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Mm-hmm. But it was built. So we really have to identify those barriers on each of our unique campuses. Every campus is so diverse, and not any one of our campuses is exactly the same. So the problems that we might face at UMass Amherst in rolling these out are going to be very different than at UMass Dartmouth or at the president's office, or anywhere else. So we need that information, and we need time to get that information from everybody. And so all of you in this room and your peers and your colleagues who weren't able to make it today, that's really critical you get them this information so we can get this feedback to make it successful and to identify those barriers and push through.
And honestly, it's an ongoing process. So even if I always hate thinking of it as like a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. There's getting the program out there, getting the resources and stuff, but it's a constant work in progress. A good example of that is the University of Washington. They have been working on it for 19 years. They continue to struggle with vendors, continue to have inaccessible products that they have to accommodate around, but they continue to make strides. And they have never actually had a lawsuit because they're completely proactive. They work hand in hand with the vendors, and hopefully the vendors are going to get better and better at what they do, and we're seeing a lot of progress there. So that's something to keep in mind, that it's going to be an ongoing process. Don't get too overwhelmed.
Yeah. One bite.
Has the university force vendors to make things compliant?
So there's been someone rejected by a campus at one point. So that's one thing.
So I don't even know if I'm supposed to say anything about our testing.
That's why I said one campus.
Okay, I'm just going to say it because this is important. Yes and no. So yes, in that the reason we started this cross-campus accessibility working group is because we all need to be on the same page, because vendors are sometimes a nightmare and sometimes wonderful, right? So there's strength in numbers, and strength in expertise and support. So part of why we developed this was for that reason, but also we're looking to expand that into a Northeast collaborative of some kind. And that's in the works currently, because even the UMass system, which is, we hold a lot of clout, we're well known. There's still other universities that we're finding duplication everywhere in our efforts. And so we are currently working with other schools on certain products that people are trying to procure in different areas of the country. And we're finding we're duplicating our efforts through testing. And so we've banded together. So there's been multiple instances of that as well. And that's served us quite well because we've moved pretty far with 2 unnamed vendors. And we'll continue to do so. But I think that's the purpose of this. That's why you're sitting here today, is because we're relying on all of you to go off and be stewards in this way. We can't do this alone, and we need all of us to be on the same or similar page and to work through this together, because there's strength in numbers in this for sure.
And we have, even with one unnamed vendor that we're currently working with, we have found another product that's more accessible than them. And we said to them, we're currently going to look at this product because we can replace you with it.
And they don't like to hear that from a system as large as ours.
Yep. And there are a lot of different vendors that now are engaged in places like the Paciello group to do audits, level access, to come up to speed. So,
and yet we still test even after all of the
because a lot of them said they were compliant and they weren't.
Yeah, you're going to find a lot of VPATs that may not have accurate information. So it's really important to look at the standards and also find your key stakeholders on your specific campus that can help you test. And if you can't find those people, contact Christina.
And and a VPAT, for anyone who might not know, is a voluntary product accessibility template. It's something a vendor can fill out, or a third party can fill out for a vendor to kind of vet their product, but it's by no means telling you how accessible something is, really. It's just kind of telling you what they know about what they don't know.
And one of the things we actually included in the standards was standards around testing and things to ask yourself, even from a procurement standpoint. What do I need to ask myself and ask the vendor to really decide, is this a vendor I'm willing to go forward with? Are they somewhat compliant? Are they not compliant at all? Is it going to get me nowhere? And do I really need this product at the end of the day too? And I think some of us have even started creating products.
Yes.
So as you guys probably saw, some of you with the Wayfinding product, sometimes you have to step outside and go, this is something I can create, and I can create it in an accessible manner. There's another university that has given up, and they're starting to create some of their own products too. So
there's a lot of them. Do we have any more from you, or are we opening it?
No, we're just going to open it up.
I did see a question from Emery in the back. Thank you, Hannah.
I was just going to say, in addition to technology, making sure that accessibility is happening in all of your contracts. I know we do a giant common read for all of our incoming students. And so part of our conversation with them, with the publisher, was, hey, we're going to purchase all these books from you. We also need you to make sure that you're getting us an accessible version for students who need an accessible version. So instead of having to go back and reinvent the wheel, just making sure that that was part of the conversation to start with, so that that's part of the contract for whomever goes into purchasing the next book.
Yeah. So. And we are working on standard contract language with the Procurement Council. So that will hopefully get approved and pushed out, because to me, that's one of our more crucial pieces.
Absolutely.
That, and obviously finding a way to implement testing at the campuses where there might not be any. So any questions from?
My question is about compliance. So we have these tools or guidelines. Is there anything in here about enforcement? Like somebody gets a negative job review if they don't do this, or how do we make people do these things?
So just to make sure that everyone heard that, it's around compliance. How do we ensure that, I forgot it.
Ensure that people actually,
ensure that people actually do it and accommodate and all of that if it's not part of their job description. Okay.
that is a good question. I don't know if I have an answer to that at the moment.
I have no comment. Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. And that's why we've engaged people like Donna to kind of read through that and guide us in that way, because that's something that's outside of what we specifically do, but this is collaborative, and it always will be. And that's where Donna and the general counsel becomes really important to help us navigate that. Matthew?
And then Jody.
Oh, yes.
The session that we did this morning about the AV systems is that we aren't going to give people negative job reviews, but we can withhold our or grant our support. If we're in the support business, we can say, if you play by our rules, we'll happily support you. And if you want to go off and do your own thing, we can't really stop you, but we will not support you. That's kind of the softer version of that.
So I actually work for, my name's Scott, I'm in IT. I actually work for two departments, both enterprise support and computer classrooms in the Innovate group. So in both of them, we actually have different SLAs for different groups, and we give them our requirements in the SLA. So if they want our support and whatever else goes along with it, they sign the SLA. If at any point they aren't within our SLA, then we can withdraw our support and we just don't support them anymore. So if they go by our standards, we'll help them. If they don't, we say, you're on your own.
And then I would maybe say there's different tiers of support maybe, because I never like to throw people completely to the wolves, because usually education is at the crux of that.
There is several levels,
Okay,
and we always draw the line of if it's impacting the students and the teaching environment, we don't throw the SLA at them. It's for like the stuff in their offices or the things that they could easily be doing. They're just choosing not to. But we always do, when it's a support for and impacts the classroom, we end up doing it. We don't ask questions.
Another way that we've been thinking about doing this is with liability. So you can say, here's what you have to do. If we as the institution are going to accept liability for this, then you're covered. And if you don't do it the right way, then you sign off on it being your responsibility that you will take the heat if something happens.
And this is where general counsel becomes incredibly important.
Yep.
They're behind this, right?
I have no comment.
Okay.
I won't speak for general counsel, but that's where we're getting guidance from them to kind of navigate the complexity of that.
Something else. Something else that has really been helpful is putting it in the framework of students. If your students cannot access the materials, and if you tell a faculty member, hey, Professor so-and-so, I have a student that cannot access your materials, that really puts it home for them, I think. And we really are, at the end of the day, about serving students, right? And so ensuring that our students can access the materials really does put it into perspective for a lot of people, because most of the time people do want to do the right thing, but oftentimes they need to get that perspective from the individual person about, hey, I cannot access your materials, or I have a student here that I'm working with that cannot access your materials.
And that's kind of why when we're thinking about the standards, there are components of it that are not inherently standards themselves, but it's education for our faculty, because a lot of it comes down to that. We're an institution of education, right? But we also have to educate people who are not necessarily educators themselves. They're researchers often, and they're focused and experts in certain areas, but not necessarily, they didn't go through a doctorate program in education, or they might not really understand pedagogy. So it's also considering that fact and ensuring that we're supporting them to understand where there's pitfalls and where the barriers exist and why. So it's kind of getting them to discover their personal why. And that has a lot to do with what Matt just said around, it's about the students. So that's the goal. Yes.
Has the university made a decision to commit funding to this effort, significant funding to actually make it happen, or is this almost like a grassroots volunteer type thing going on?
Currently grassroots volunteer. I've been doing it for 2 years at the president's office. And whether or not after the standards are implemented, what comes out of that, we'll see. We'll see, yeah.
So from my experience, when the university doesn't do this, what happens is somebody who really doesn't know about accessibility in HR kind of learns pseudo accessibility, tries putting it together and filling that void there. But the level of quality isn't what our colleagues need. It's more than that. We're our students.
And that's why we're developing the standards.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I would say one of the key things that will come out of this is discussions across the campuses to make sure the right people are in the spots. I mean, I'm IT, Matt's IT. So
Right,
we,
stakeholders.
yes, we make sure we have the right stakeholders involved.
And also, I will just mention 90% of my experience in accessibility over the last 12 years has been attitudes and perceptions. So I will say that our attitudes around accessibility and how we educate and how we talk about it and how we work with each other is critical to this working, right?
Yep.
So I just want to encourage us all in terms of collaboration, in terms of how we perceive ourselves, our peers, our students, everybody. And I encourage you to be collaborative and work together. That's the only way this will survive.
Thanks. I have 2 questions, if I may. One's just a quick follow-up on this. Do you have projected costs of what it would take to be, to implement these standards?
It's a dicey question.
Yeah.
Yes and no. There's thoughts about how much certain things might cost, but this is where that period of time where we need to see where the pitfalls are when we're implementing it. Where do people have support built in and maybe people didn't know? Or where is there absolutely no support? Because if we don't have that time to figure that out, people also can't budget for it. So we're always budgeting a year out. So we need to discover those areas so that we can start over time filling in those gaps.
Okay. And then the second,
one of the things that the guidelines show is we need to do a survey. Each campus have to look into we need to look at ourselves and actually do a survey on the areas. I know in our campus, UMass Lowell, we started doing surveys in certain areas. So we have an idea of the cost of some of the things that we need to target, like captioning, for example. So those things are, once you do that survey and you bring your stakeholders, you will have an idea of what the cost will be.
Perfect.
The costs are not shy. So I'm going to be the reality person here. The costs are high. So one of the things is we need to look into how can we make that feasible? And that will be a campus by campus decision on what areas do you want to tackle first, because it is huge. So by cutting it, breaking it down into pieces, you will be able to make some improvement. And the idea is we want to make progress towards the goals. And one of the things that I have seen on the cases that I have read is that if you show that you are trying to move toward that becoming accessible, you get a better outcome when it comes to the final results of the case. So that's one of the goals, is to look into that. We all have to do our own surveys and determine what are the areas that we want to tackle first.
Thank you. The second question actually builds nicely off your comment about involving the stakeholders. I wonder what you could tell me about the involvement of a couple populations either to date or planned from this part forward. So one being faculty, one being students, and one being people who are deaf and hard of hearing.
So I'm going to let you guys speak to that, because at the president's office, I actually don't have faculty or students. But I will say that we engaged like every literal office. We surveyed every office. And I did a 3-month audit of where we were. We only have 75 products, so that's actually not a big number compared to some of the campuses. So I know where all those products stand. Are they all accessible? No. Are there ones that are higher on the list that we're more focused on? Yes. Do we look at all audiences? Yes. So we're not just thinking of someone that has low vision, someone that is blind. We're thinking of all audiences and doing testing for all audiences.
To clarify, I'm asking about the involvement of actual people.
Yes. Yep.
For the accessibility standards?
Yeah, in developing all this and weighing in.
So primarily, so when we created the accessibility working group across the system, right, slowly we've had people trickle in and build, and we've created subcommittees for different work, this being one of them, the accessibility standards subcommittee. And it's comprised of a variety of different people across the different campuses. So the tricky thing is that our campuses are so different and we all have different roles, even if our title is similar. So every campus has at least 2 people. Some campuses have significantly more involvement. That's where we'd say, check in and find out where your campus stands, and please join us in our efforts. But it's a wide array. I would say a large portion of it comes from instructional designers, IT, disability services, HR, And then we have Donna from General Counsel. And so it's different at every school. Faculty representation, we have several faculty members from Amherst who exist as part of our working group.
In Boston as well.
In Boston. But that's going to be a whole other bird.
At UMass we have the ATUD committee, which has members from the various groups that she mentioned. We also have some faculty involved as well in that committee. We're trying to get more people as part of the committee, like people from procurement, online, to have more stakeholders at the table. The way we, like I said, at UMass we're taking it piece by piece. So one of the things that when we're looking about having some guidelines for captioning, one of the things is I went and spoke with the provost office. Then from there, we went to the faculty senate and presented the guidelines to them. We are about to send them another email to let them know that this is coming forward, but at the same time, we're having communications and meeting with the associate deans, the deans and the chairs to send the message out, and then will be a communication for the faculty, letting them know what we're planning on doing. And they did have an opportunity. We did send the guidelines for them to provide some feedback. So we are including the faculty in the process because we know they're key in order to work with us. So, and that's a piece by piece. It's gonna take us time. So the communication will be coming out sometime in the summer for the next steps on the guidelines for captioning. And that will be from the provost office to the faculty.
And part of this too is that year when we're rolling these out, that's where we're getting a lot of our feedback for how's this going for you? Like, what can we do to help you? Because that's where our faculty is all over the place. Some of them are like ready to hit the ground running and really invested. Others just don't know what they don't know, and some don't care. And so it's kind of navigating all those different tiers of willingness and support and knowledge and all of that. And that's really, we're going to learn a lot during that period of time and get a lot of feedback from our students and our staff and our faculty. And the student component is an interesting one. I think it's relevant, but I'm almost more interested in that from a research perspective, from like a lot of our initiatives at UMass Amherst, which we're writing grants to receive funding for, is around universal design for learning implementation and redesigning some of our largest courses. So thinking about how could that funding then work to kind of get feedback from students about the outcomes of their courses, look at retention, look at student success in general. And so that's kind of twofold, but will kind of pair nicely with some of this as well going forward. It's a process. Jody, I think Jody has had her hand up for a while. So I'm gonna...
I don't want to negate that this is going to be costly and it's going to be complicated. However, people thinking about accessibility from the very beginning. So when you look at captioning, maybe there's just another video with a similar content that's already captioned. So I think really just bringing the narrative forward, and we're not, I mean, this is going to be, I mean, we've been talking about captioning for, you know, I've been here almost 10 years, for that long. So it's not going to happen overnight, but I think there's elements of what you want to bring back to your campus, what you want to bring back to your departments that can start for this fall. And it's really not that complicated. And having an ADA checklist for everyone and having some training, because when I deal with faculty, it's mainly fear-based, that they just don't know how to do it. And if we're not giving them any training, that's not the right thing to do either. So I just wanted to say that. So there are elements that we can move forward with right away.
And it kind of dovetails with the conversation that was happening around like, okay, job descriptions, blah, blah, blah. I'm less concerned about that because in reality, when it comes down to it, when we're thinking about accessibility, right? And it's daunting, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of it has to do with education of our faculty to teach them how to make that document accessible from the get-go. So of course they're freaking out around retroactivity and blah, 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 but you're gonna have to do it. It's just gonna take time. And really, it's not necessarily a part of your job description. If someone puts in a job description, must make accessible materials, well, that's a reiteration of a public institution. You have to anyway. It's a part of when you took that job, you work at a public institution that receives federal funding. It's a part of what you have to do for our students. So it shouldn't be in your job description necessarily because it's already just a part of, you took this job. Do you know what I mean? So part of that, it's around education. That's really the big part of this is like, how do we get that narrative or that information out to our staff and our faculty? if it pops up in the job description, unless you're like Matt, who's the coordinator for accessibility, I mean, it's then it's kind of making it a separate thing. And that's not what we're looking to do either. We're just looking to educate people and provide them the resources and the tools they need to do it, and to do it going forward, and think about how they can slowly build the things that maybe they didn't create accessibility or accessibly from the beginning. And that's a lesson in itself. But so it kind of works together in that way. But the reality is, remember, we're here for students. We are a public institution, and it's just the nature of our jobs.
Yeah, in many job descriptions, you know, there's something like can effectively communicate with clients, right? Or something about communication.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm a client and you can't effectively communicate with me because your content that you're sending me is not accessible,
Good point, Matt
then,
McCubbin.
then you're not doing your job.
I like it.
She's gonna remember that one.
Oh, will I ever?
So my question is about how involved is the library in this conversation? Because we are the institution that provides this content.
So I can only speak for UMass Amherst right now. We have a phenomenal group in our library who created an accessibility committee as part of the library, and 3 of those people are active in our accessibility working group as well. So there is representation from UMass Amherst for sure. We're actively working with vendors right now, and the accessibility working group for our library has done a full audit that they're currently finishing up their final report for. So I know that's ongoing work at UMass Amherst. I'm not quite sure what the other schools are doing specific to the library, but there is a voice from the library in terms of UMass Amherst as part of this.
Boston, Matt can probably speak to, because the library has been involved, not per se in our group, but.
I mean, I've certainly worked with the library in Boston. Teresa, I'm not sure if you're a part of the accessibility working group, but that certainly can be rectified.
Please join it.
At UMass Lowell, we do have representation from the library at the committee.
Yeah, I just want to, I'm Lisa Panagopoulos from UMass Lowell, continuing ed. So I just want to kind of build on what Jody was saying, that, you know, we should leave here not feeling like this is such a daunting task. And it is, if you look at it as a big picture. But just to start someplace, which is what we did a couple of years ago, we had students that were visually impaired and hearing impaired. We had several of them in our online courses, and I teach as well. I work on the faculty development team. There were 4 of us. Elena's on the team too. And so we had to make these accommodations. And then we thought, you know what, let's just make all of our courses compliant, you know? And so we said, well, what are the basics? And so we've been talking about them, but we keep thinking, to me, it seems more straightforward than it's sounding. For example, closed captions on video. So we put this checklist out to faculty, and this is basically what was on the checklist. Closed captions on your videos, all text transcript on all audio files, PDFs that were accessible, which is what a lot of people covered today, a standardized course menu, standardized homepage, standardized weekly folders. And so we put this out there and we said, these are what we're looking for. If you have any, and we put together a little tutorial. If you have any questions, contact us. Well, some were eager to go right away. And like you said, there are some that want to do. And so we said, well, this is really good. You know, it's doable. And so we got approval from the chancellor to incentivize the faculty with money. And this was the key. And I know not every campus can afford to pay, and we're just continuing ed. We're not talking about all the day school web enhanced courses. We're talking about the fully online courses, because that's where our risk was the most at that point. So we pay our faculty $500 each course to make it compliant. And it seems to have worked. Money does talk. And we do support as they come to us one by one, and we're keeping track. We do support them in their nitty gritty of, like Jody said, oh, this video's not captioned, but maybe this one is. And so we are oftentimes able to help push that along. So it's doable. We've been working on it for 2 years. We have half of our 500 courses done. And so just start small and start with something. I don't know if that helped.
No, it does help. And it's true. You do have to start somewhere. And the reality is, when we say we have 250 courses done for now, right, until they upload something that's inaccessible, but it's a learning process. And that's the point, is that you're always working towards compliance. You're always working towards learning more. And it is possible. It is doable. And I mean, UMass Amherst online learning, Marisha could probably speak to it. Sorry to call you out, but it's there. We have all of our campuses have really deep strengths in different areas. And part of this retreat is to pull those strengths together to collaborate on some of these issues. And so when we know that one campus is strong here in online learning and another campus is maybe really strong with web development and accessible design and all of that, how can we leverage that together to make it a functional system? And that's why we're here. And that's why we're having these conversations. And that's so important. And to hear the successes as well, because you can get negative in this real quickly. But again, I'll keep saying it, our attitudes, our perceptions, the way we talk about it is integral to our success. So we just have to keep it moving. And that's a great success story. And I'd love to see more success stories. I want to make that a subset of what we're doing. I want to hear, how are our students feeling? How are our faculty feeling? Because everybody's different and everybody's tools are different too. So we have some faculty who really want to do a lot of this, but are not super tech savvy. And so they're trying to learn the basics of a computer while also learning some of this. So it's also meeting people where they're at and getting them pumped and getting them invested. And that's important.
And providing them with the resources.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Chris from UMass Amherst.
John.
Just want to make a couple comments on a few of the questions that have been posed today. On cost projection, in terms of making content accessible, I agree with Kelsey, it's really a moving target. We had a student from Mount Holyoke fall semester, who was visually impaired, and she was taking a history class on the Holocaust. And a lot of the content was visual. And part of the problem was, again, we have a lot of faculty that are on 9-month contracts. So even though we contacted the professor in the summertime, they didn't get back to us until I think it was the Friday before school started.
Late.
And we needed to get all of his content accessible through 3Play Media. We spent, it was over $10,000 to make this course accessible. And then the question is, who pays for that? Is it the Disability Services Office on campus? Is it the academic department? You know, I think it's a bigger conversation we have to have.
And that was something that Clara and I and Christina and Matt were talking about during lunchtime was, well, how can we make this a little bit more sustainable? Because right now at UMass Amherst, it frequently falls to the academic department, but sometimes disability services when someone doesn't pay up, right? So part of the conversation is how can we create a system? And some of the thoughts were, well, depending on the size of the department, depending on the size of the school, depending on the size of like IT and your respective schools, thinking about how can we make an infrastructure so that everyone pays in and can prepare that as part of their budget so that no one gets slammed with a massive fine of some kind of fine, quote unquote, or like a fee. So if someone has a student in Eisenberg, our Eisenberg school, which is large and has more funding than our women's studies program, who has, you know, fewer people, how can everybody pay into a pool of money and so no one's surprised and everyone can pull from it? So that's a conversation we're having too, is how can we make that work? And that's a reason for that. You know, that's a small department that had a large amount of money to pay, but they had to because that student is paying to attend our university. So it's tricky.
And in that conversation, we have to include the stakeholders.
Yes.
Like I started that conversation here at UMass Lowell. We're going to start talking with the stakeholders, the provost office, the chief of information technology, potentially the chancellor. You're going to have to bring people in that potentially could contribute to the fund. I call it the fund, but basically we're going to need to have those conversations, and those conversations have to start now. If we're going to be planning on rolling this out, we need to be having those conversations with our leadership today.
John.
Hi.
Hi.
So right in front of you is a group of people who are accessibility experts, digital. And we're UMass Medical School. This is the index program that I lead and I talked about it in my presentation. And I'm want to use this as an opportunity to say to you that we would like to become more involved to help this effort. And Derek here, I'm springing this on him. He's going to be your contact person and your idea guy. And I think that
So definitely please reach out to us. We want everyone to be involved. So it's not like a med school only initiative. It's not a UMass Amherst only or UMass Lowell. Everyone has a role here. So anyone that's sitting in this audience who has skill in this area, because all of you do, I want you to please reach out to us. We need you on our team. We need you as part of this, and your colleagues who couldn't be here today. Absolutely.
Can I have your business card?
So the accessibility forum is the number one best way to jump onto the accessibility forum. And also we do have the cross-campus quarterly meetings. I can add anyone to them. The more the merrier.
Yes, please
my
join.
perspective, because honestly, we don't have pretty small group at this point. And
no, it's large.
Well, it's large, but it's not enough of an
Yeah.
audience where I feel like we're having agendas that last for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I'd like to get more people involved. I'd like to have more breakout groups. We had the breakout group for the work-in sessions. I know there was going to be one for the AV standards.
Yes.
But I'd like to get as many working groups engaged as possible on different focus areas, because right now we're it's going to take like pretty much a village to.
Yes, it will. And that's why, please, we want representation from all of our schools.
And I know I've heard a lot about the faculty too, but I do want to mention you'll have pushback from all different audiences. And you're going to see the kind of the same fears and whatnot. And as Kelsey and these guys have said, the best way to move it forward is from your own momentum and your own passion. Passion is a very beautiful thing, and it pushes us forward constantly. Because every day now I get people approaching me at my desk, which was not 2 years ago. And so it's about constantly reaching out, constantly interacting with people.
And also reach out if you know your accessibility people on your own campuses. Reach out to them. Go find them. Go have lunch with them. And you might be surprised at the resources that they might make available to you. For instance, at Boston and now Amherst, we make available Read Write Gold from Texthelp to any student, staff, or faculty who wants it. We also have JAWS and Zoom Text Fusion in the same situation as well. And these are applications that you can use on your computers at work to do a lot of accessibility testing and to just play around and to learn more about how your students are using accessibility features.
Yes.
I got the mic. Two things. Today's session I found out about because I also do the clips for UMass Lowell in the news, and this came up in my Google alerts.
Oh.
That's how I found out about this.
Okay.
So no one else on the UMass Lowell campus, except for the people who are in this group, know about this. I actually was prepared to drive to Shrewsbury, and then somebody last week said, "Oh no, it's at the ICC." So announcements to the camp if you want people to buy in and know, and I know that's a sticky. Yeah, we want everyone. No, not that everyone.
We do.
Yeah. No, the other everyone, the ones we like. But so this had a little publicity problem from where I'm standing. I wouldn't have known if I didn't
And there's a good reason for that.
across it.
So we had only a certain amount of seats. So each campus was involved in soliciting members. So for everything else, it's open to everyone. But the tricky thing was that we had a limited amount of seats for this one.
Yeah.
And so they had to mark it carefully so that they, literally each campus had 15 seats.
15 to 20.
15 to 20 seats. So yeah, they were kind of stuck.
Right. And if you want faculty to know and buy in, have a faculty workshop. If you just put the word faculty on it, they'll come. If they think it's just for everyone, they're not going to come. If you have to say it's for them and it's special for them, they will come.
Yeah. One thing I do find really important, though, is I do want the people that we don't want here. I want them here more than anyone, because those are the people who need the most education.
Right.
Those are the people that we need to get on our side. And we can't really do anything in terms of it. You have to understand their rejection of it to really even move forward otherwise. So we need to argue the other side.
Yeah.
So I want them here.
And I do see, so one of the things we can do is offer more online, not just the campus working groups, right? Because that's very businessy and stuff like that, but more sessions like we had today, rather than everyone getting in a room, actually doing them online and having the sessions scattered throughout the year. And then still having something where everyone comes together and hopefully we find a big enough space for that. But having those online interactions constantly throughout the year, I think is one of the big parts to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and Bill Supa, so anyone
Supa.
help me?
Yeah, Supa.
Okay, he's not here. I saw him leave. But we had a great conversation at our table in one of our sessions around getting together the different expertise among all of our campuses, because everyone again has different skills, and pulling that together and really leveraging those and creating training programs from all of our campuses for our campuses. And I think that's a really neat thing. So we're going to start exploring that. So you'll see a subgroup pop up for that as well.
Excellent. I have one other question. Are there any standards in here for email accessibility?
Yes. That was a big pet peeve of mine. So
email communication.
And I'm still mad at
Yep.
Mac for not having, well, I'm not too mad at them, but it's actually Mac for Outlook. It's the Outlook product where it doesn't allow me to do headings. And I only have a Mac computer at this point. So I don't put any images in because I can't do alt text. We do have that in there. We have email campaigns in there because I think those get missed a lot, even when people are making emails accessible. Web content, they all fall under the same umbrella. So we have them in one section.
Yep, and there's a lot of overlap between email accessibility and web accessibility and creating accessible documents in Microsoft Word. You know, they all have alt text, ways of adding alt text to pictures, and you'll want to make sure they have structure and table navigation and table headers. So there's a ton of overlap as well, but the standards are pretty thorough and kind of describing some of the differences.
Yeah. Any last questions before we close up?
We even have infographics in there, by the way.
Yeah.
We got daring. We covered it all.
Yep. And as soon as we release them, there'll be new stuff.
Yes,
exactly.
That's the thing. It's never over. We're always just beginning. Always.
That's the fun part.
It is fun. Yeah. Thank you. And it's fun. Any last thoughts from anybody? We really appreciate that you're here. We appreciate that you took time out of your day and your schedules and just busy life. And we hope you'll continue to talk to us and that your attitudes remain positive and excited, and that you reach out to each other and that you support each other. That's really important.
I want to thank you all for coming from UMass Lowell. We're very glad that you came and joined us. I have to thank Human Resources and Equal Opportunity. They actually, last year when this conference was mentioned, they jumped at the opportunity to support this event. So thank you to all of them. I only see Rebecca here. We're other two at the front desk. And welcome to UMass, and I hope you visit us more often.
And thank you to all of our vendors. Some of them are gone now, but we had some really great information from vendors, and the fact that they came, and all of our volunteers, again, that was amazing. And UMass Amherst, thank you for sponsoring captioning. And if you are interested in supporting this next year on your campus, get this stuff into your budget, find a way to support it. It doesn't take an exorbitant amount of money, but it does take money and time. So even if you want your campus involved in terms of testing presentations, we had to do a lot of that, things like that, reach out to us. We want you to be a part of it.
And if you have people on your staff where you'd like them to get the hands-on training and stuff, we've already done that with other folks and even other universities recently. Yes. So happy to do that as well. But basically, reach out to us. I'm going to be here for the next half hour if anyone wants to circle over and talk to me, because I'm going to avoid the traffic, so it might be more than an hour, seeing I'm going to Worcester. But feel free to touch base with me. Also, we'll be sending out a survey within the next week to make sure we get everyone's feedback, and also join the Accessibility Forum and post any questions that you have.
Information.
And there's resources out there too that are great that I can share with you guys through the Accessibility Forum.
So thank you. And drive safely. Thank you.